There is something important you need to hear before you move on. Something most men go their entire lives without being told. You have been misreading the signals around you, not because you lack intelligence or observation skills, but because no one ever explained to you how women actually communicate attraction. That single blind spot has quietly cost you more than you have probably realized. Stay with this because over the next few minutes, you are going to discover exactly what you have been overlooking. 8 specific signs that a woman is drawn to you, even when her behavior suggests otherwise. And beyond those 8 signs, you are going to understand something even more revealing. Why the men who are genuinely most attractive are almost always the last ones to know it. But first, consider something honestly. Have you ever walked into a room and felt completely unseen? Have you ever replayed a conversation afterward, trying to figure out whether something was there or whether you imagined the whole thing? Have you ever caught yourself quietly concluding that you are simply not the kind of man women notice? If any of that lands, take a breath, because what follows might reframe years of your own history. The men who doubt themselves most persistently are very often the men women are most drawn to. Not because of ego or physical appearance, but because of something deeper. Presence. And we are going to examine exactly what that means. Here is something most men were never taught. Women and men do not experience attraction the same way. For men, attraction tends to arrive as a forward impulse. You notice someone, something inside you moves toward her, and the feeling is fairly direct. You see, you want, you pursue. But for women, attraction begins as awareness. Her first question is not about the other person. It is about whether that person notices her. She tunes into your energy before she makes any decision about how to respond. She observes. She positions herself. She sends signals. She does not announce her interest. She signals it. This fundamental difference is why so many men walk through life completely oblivious to the interest that is actually surrounding them. They are waiting for something direct, something unmistakable, something that looks like the way they experience attraction. But that is not how this works. And if you have spent years waiting for a woman to pursue you openly or make her attraction completely unmistakable, you have been waiting for something that was never how this was designed to work. So let us begin with the first sign, lingering eye contact. This is the most universal signal of attraction and the one men dismiss most consistently. Here is how it tends to happen. You are somewhere ordinary, a coffee shop, a gym, some kind of social gathering. You glance up and your eyes meet hers. But instead of the immediate looking away that happens between strangers, she holds it just a fraction of a second longer than the situation requires. There is a brief pause, a small suspended moment, and then she looks away. Most men register this as nothing. They tell themselves it was accidental, that she was just looking in their direction, that it doesn't mean anything. But psychologically, that extra second carries enormous weight. Research on nonverbal communication shows that sustained eye contact activates emotional arousal, increases the sense of intimacy between two people, and signals that you have genuinely been registered. We do not hold eye contact with people who fail to interest us. The nervous system simply does not invest that energy. And here is the part most men never notice. She looks back. That second glance is not accidental. It is confirmation. Think about your own behavior when something captures your attention. You look twice. You verify what you felt the first time. She is doing exactly the same thing. The first look is curiosity. The second look is quiet courage. She is asking without words whether you noticed her. The confident response in that moment is not an intense stare. It is a calm, steady hold, maybe a slight natural smile. If this has happened to you, you are not invisible. You are being seen, and you are being evaluated, and the fact that she looked twice means you passed the first test. The second sign is proximity. Men who carry genuine presence create a kind of gravitational pull without doing anything deliberate to produce it. You may have noticed women gravitating toward the space where you are standing, joining a group you are already part of, choosing the seat beside you when other options were clearly available. This is not coincidence. It is positioning. Women rarely pursue directly, but they consistently manufacture opportunity. From a psychological standpoint, physical closeness builds positive association over time. Studies on what researchers call the mere exposure effect show that proximity increases the likelihood of connection forming. When a woman places herself inside your immediate space, She is increasing the chances that something between you will develop. She is giving you the opportunity to notice her, to engage with her, to make the first move. But if you are not paying attention, you will miss it entirely. Consider a man in his early 60s who had begun feeling overlooked entirely at a place he visited regularly. The same woman had seated herself beside him on 3 separate occasions. He chalked it up to random seating choices. It was not random. The moment he shifted out of self-doubt and into genuine awareness, everything around him began to look different. He started engaging with quiet confidence instead of retreating into invisibility. Presence pulls, awareness responds to it. The third sign is that people become more attentive when you speak. Have you noticed side conversations settling when you start talking? Have you seen people physically orient their bodies in your direction without being asked? That is presence operating at a level most people never think to analyze. Psychologists describe something called the halo effect. When someone is perceived as carrying genuine value, those around them unconsciously extend their attention and goodwill. This effect deepens with age. Youth tends to announce itself loudly. Maturity resonates quietly. You do not need to own a room. You need to be anchored in one. Try this deliberately. Slow your speech slightly. Drop your tone a fraction. Pause before responding rather than filling silence with words. Silence amplifies attention rather than creating awkwardness. If you have ever experienced that quality of quiet authority where attention gathers around you without you demanding it, you already carry this kind of magnetism. You may simply not have named it yet. The fourth sign is mirroring. This one is subtle but deeply telling. Mirroring happens when someone begins unconsciously reflecting your physical behavior. You lean back and she leans back. Your speaking pace slows and hers follows. You touch your face and moments later she touches hers. This is not imitation in any conscious sense. It is nervous system alignment. When we feel safe and genuinely attracted to someone, our bodies begin to move towards synchrony with theirs. Mirror neurons in the brain activate when we observe someone we feel connected to. It is biological rapport expressing itself without either person choosing to create it. When you notice a woman gradually matching your gestures or your rhythm, what her nervous system is communicating is that she feels safe in your presence, and safety is what comes before desire, especially for women. A simple and subtle technique. Gently mirror one small element of her posture a few moments into a conversation. Nothing exaggerated, just a slight alignment. Watch how quickly the sense of connection between you deepens. Attraction is rarely loud. It is layered, energetic, and felt before it is understood. The fifth sign is that the compliments she gives you go beyond the surface. When a woman says you look good, that is a surface-level observation. Physical assessments happen almost instantly and almost unconsciously. But when she says something like she really likes your energy, or that she feels oddly comfortable around you, or that there is something different about you she cannot quite name, that is a signal of an entirely different kind. She is describing your presence, not your appearance. Research consistently shows that emotional safety and genuine authenticity are among the strongest predictors of lasting attraction. When a woman says she feels comfortable around you, she is describing what her nervous system is doing in your company. It is relaxing. That is magnetic at a level that physical appearance cannot reach. There is a man in his late 50s, a widower, quiet, unassuming, not someone who commanded obvious attention in a room. Women kept telling him how easy he was to talk to. He assumed they were simply being kind. They were not. He listened without trying to impress. He did not rush to fill silence. His calm created the kind of emotional safety that women encounter rarely. He thought of himself as ordinary. They experienced him as grounding. There is a meaningful difference between those two things. The next time someone compliments your calm, your steadiness, or the energy you carry, do not minimize it. Simply receive it. Confidence builds when you stop reflexively dismissing what is being offered to you. The sixth sign is that you catch people looking at you more than once. Repeated glances from across the space. Quick assessments that happen when you enter a room. Eye contact that recurs rather than happening only once. Here is what is taking place. The human brain is wired to scan social environments for value. We instinctively notice individuals who stand out not through perfection, but through posture, composure, and energy. When you walk into a space and the social atmosphere shifts slightly, When someone glances and quickly redirects their gaze when you catch them, when eye contact finds you from a distance more than once, that is recognition. Many men miss this entirely because they are waiting for something unmistakable, but attraction almost never arrives with a spotlight. It shows up in tracking behavior, in the way someone's attention keeps returning to you, even when they are pretending otherwise. Something worth trying deliberately. The next time you enter any public space, put the phone away. Shoulders relaxed, head level, steps unhurried. Let your gaze move calmly across the room rather than fixing on the floor or the nearest screen. Then observe. You may find yourself surprised by how often awareness meets awareness. The seventh sign is how other men behave around you. This one matters enormously because women observe male social dynamics carefully. Men are biologically wired to assess status, and the way other men treat you sends women a signal that no amount of personal charm can manufacture on its own. The signs of genuine respect from other men are consistent. They do not cut you off when you are speaking. They seek your perspective. They introduce you to others in a way that carries genuine regard. They defer to you in small but perceptible ways. The signs of competition look different. Attempts to one-up you, sudden efforts to dominate when a woman enters the shared space, backhanded comments wrapped in humor, dismissive deflection. Both reactions communicate something important. Respect tells a watching woman that you are recognized. Competition tells her that you are perceived as someone worth competing against. From an evolutionary psychology standpoint, social proof exerts a powerful and largely automatic influence on attraction. When the men around you treat you as someone of genuine value, women register and absorb that assessment. And here is what matters most about this. The most attractive men do not fight for status. They simply embody it. True confidence does not escalate under pressure. It stabilizes. In a group situation, do you get louder to establish yourself? Or do you stay grounded and let the room come to you? If men around you respond with either genuine respect or thinly veiled competition, you are already a factor in the social dynamic. Women are watching how that plays out. The eighth sign is that women make assumptions about your options. You may have heard things like, "How are you still single?" Or, "I am sure you have plenty of women interested in you," or, "You probably say that to everyone." These comments tend to surface early in conversations, sometimes before any real relationship has formed. The reason is something specific in the energy you carry. Desperation has a recognizable psychological signature. It shows up in over-explaining, in chasing validation, in texting too much, in seeking constant reassurance. Abundance feels entirely different. It is calm, it is patient, it does not rush toward intimacy or cling when connection begins to develop. Women are extraordinarily attuned to the difference between scarcity energy and abundance energy, not as a logical calculation, but as something felt. When she senses that you are genuinely comfortable, whether she chooses to engage with you or not, she experiences you as carrying higher value. And here is the irony that most men never sit with long enough. You may not actually have multiple options in your life right now, but if you carry yourself as someone who could have them, the perception takes hold. When women believe you are someone others want, their own interest deepens. Ask yourself honestly, do you behave like someone grateful for whatever crumbs are offered, or like someone who moves through the world making deliberate choices? That question alone has the power to shift your entire dynamic. If you recognized even 2 or 3 of those 8 signs in your own recent experience, you are almost certainly far more attractive than you have been allowing yourself to believe. The obstacle is rarely your appearance or your age. The obstacle is ownership. And what comes next matters most, because we are going to examine why the brain actively blocks out evidence of your own attractiveness and what you can do to change that. Here is the paradox that emerges from observing human behavior over time. The men who are genuinely attractive are most often the ones least aware of it. The reason is this. Most men were conditioned to evaluate themselves through explicit results. Did she say yes? Did she reply? Was the signal unmistakable? If the answer was not clear, the assumption became failure. But feminine attraction does not operate like a scoreboard with clear numbers on it. It operates more like a current, subtle, responsive, energetic. If you were raised to ignore subtlety, you may have been surrounded by genuine interest for years without registering any of it. There is a man, call him Daniel, 64 years old, 7 years divorced. He had become convinced that women had simply stopped noticing him. He described himself as background noise in any social setting. But when he began examining his actual experiences with fresh eyes, a completely different picture emerged. Women at the gym where he worked out regularly chose equipment near his. A barista at his regular coffee stop remembered his name and leaned in slightly when she spoke to him. At community gatherings, women laughed easily at what he said and asked questions that kept the conversation alive. He had dismissed all of it because none of it was explicit. He was waiting for unmistakable pursuit. What he had not understood was that his calm manner, his thoughtful pauses, his grounded way of holding eye contact were quietly magnetic. But because he did not feel attractive internally, his mind filtered out every external signal that contradicted that belief. This is what psychologists call confirmation bias. The brain finds information that confirms what you already believe and discards what challenges it. If you believe you are not attractive, you will literally fail to perceive the signs that you are. The real work, then, is not about your appearance. It is not about tactics or technique. It is internal. And here is the most significant thing to take from all of this. Your self-concept can be updated, not through arrogance, but through awareness. 3 practices that accelerate the shift. The first is keeping an evidence journal. At the end of each day this week, write down one moment of positive social feedback. A genuine smile, a glance that held a beat too long, someone leaning toward you when you spoke, a warm exchange with a stranger. Do not analyze it. Do not minimize it. Simply record it. Over time, your brain begins accumulating counter-evidence to old stories about yourself. New neural patterns form. Your internal identity begins to shift towards something more accurate. The second practice is nervous system regulation. Before entering any social environment, take 3 slow, deliberate breaths. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale slowly for a count of 6. Let your jaw soften. Let your shoulders drop. This simple act moves your nervous system out of a defensive state and into one of genuine openness and connection. When your body is regulated before you walk into a room, your presence changes in a way that people feel before you have said a single word. The third practice is reclaiming your past evidence. Bring to mind 3 moments in your life when a woman showed genuine interest in you, even if nothing ultimately came of it. Write those moments down. Then ask yourself, what qualities were you carrying in those moments? Were you relaxed? Were you fully present? Were you not trying to manage how you were coming across? Attraction tends to arrive most naturally when you are simply being yourself without self-surveillance. That version of you, unconstrained and unmonitored, is exactly who women respond to. Now, for the final shift, the one that changes the dynamic permanently. When you stop asking whether you are attractive enough, you start asking a completely different and far more powerful question. Instead of hoping she likes you, you begin wondering whether she actually aligns with what you are looking for. That single shift rebalances everything. When a man evaluates calmly, rather than seeking approval, his energy settles. The grasping disappears. The urgency dissolves. And that grounded, unhurried quality of curiosity creates an opening that feminine energy naturally moves toward. Selectivity is attractive. Having genuine standards is attractive. The energy of desperation evaporates the moment your standards rise and become real. Picture this. You walk into a room, shoulders easy, gaze steady, unhurried. You greet the people you know. You have one genuinely good conversation. You laugh when something is actually funny. You leave a conversation when it has run its natural course rather than clinging past the point of comfort. From across the room, a woman notices. She feels the absence of need in you. She sees how the men around you treat you. She observes that you are not chasing anything, and quietly, without announcing it, she begins positioning herself closer. This is how attraction actually unfolds, not with dramatic gestures or perfect moments. Quietly, gradually, and with a kind of power that you will miss entirely if you are still watching for the obvious. Ask yourself one final question before you move on. If you genuinely believed you were attractive, not just physically, but energetically and as a person, what would you do differently tomorrow? Would you approach situations with more ease? Would you hold eye contact a second longer without apologizing for it? Would you stop dissecting every interaction afterward, looking for proof that it went wrong? That shift is available to you right now. Attraction is not something you pursue, it is something you become. The moment you understand that, you stop wondering where you stand. You stand with clarity, and the right person will feel it. If any of this moved something in you, pass it on to someone who needs to hear it. And share in the comments which of the 8 signs landed most powerfully. Was it the eye contact, the way people shift when you speak, the mirroring, or the realization that women may already be assuming you have options? Drop it below. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to read today.